welcome. It's stage 3 of the Ruta del Sol, and as Johnny Epa and the Lobstermen finish off the song that's causing such a stir in this part of the world, we get ready for the race to Padul. 157.9 kilometers of unbridled excitement. Well, it's got to be for us anyway. Plenty of climbs that we've had today. There's one really serious one still to come, but having had a couple of days for the quick men, yesterday Buani, of course, taking the lead of the race. Today's sign-on this morning, everyone looked nice and calm, happy, chipper, and indeed ready for a comfortable day. 15 Celsius, they say, but if the cloud rolls in about 12, with a chance of some rain. So they set off this morning, and it was busy, as it has been for the last couple of days. Finally, we did get a breakaway established. Maurice Lamertink was one of those who went early for Roompot. Wanty had Dimitri Claes as well, also involved. A little bit of chopping and changing up towards the front, and then finally established with a solid 7 who decided in their magnificence to go for it. So those who had hoped to be up there, I think, included Jörg Priedler of Giant Alpecin, the Austrian individual time trial champion, though not, unfortunately, being allowed to get as part of the break, and Maurice Lamertink also just starting to fade ever so slightly. So it was the breakaway that started to contest the climbs of the day, and slowly but surely thinned out the break with the chase on, and in fact we're very close to the chase having been caught, Matt Stevens.
We certainly are. It looks like we're coming in with about 30 k's to go. They only have about half a minute.
We join the action live then, Matt. It's been a pacey day again. We're kind of used to this.
Yeah, well, yesterday there was an extremely fast start to proceedings, aggressive from the off, 44.6 kilometres an hour for the early part. Well, there's confirmation of today's breakaway. 30 kilometres to go, and the gap has tumbled down to 25 seconds. And from the information that has been relayed to us here at our commentary point, the team doing most of the damage on the front is Movistar. Earlier in the day, of course, because they've got the yellow, well, not the yellow jersey, the red jersey on the shoulders of Nasser Bouhanni, it was Cofidis that set the tempo. But clearly, looking at the rest of the race today, when you look at the parkour, it will suit the punchier riders again. But yesterday we thought the race would have split up a little bit, and fair play to many of the fast men. Ben Swift was in there, but as I say, the controversy, I think it's worth talking about it before we head into the sharp end of the race, was the tweet of Simon Geschke, a German rider on Giant Alpecin, one of the animators, I think, of the peloton, a wonderfully hirsute beard on board as well, which he's extremely proud of. But yesterday he wasn't particularly proud of, pointed the finger on Twitter, didn't he, in relation to...
Well, let's not say who he pointed the finger at, but let's say exactly what he said.
He said, not a fan of sprinters that get pushed up the last climb by teammates and then win the stage. Again, veiled, I think we know who he was talking about, but interesting that he took to Twitter. But again, a lot of people talking about, well, if such a thing did take place, is that actually an offence? And yes, it is. I mean, riders, if they push in a stage race, somebody who isn't in their team, there's a 50 euro penalty, and if they push teammates, there's a 10-second offence within a stage race. But interestingly, if they push another member of a team, they can be disqualified.
So that in other words, if you're helping out beyond your own teammates, then it's far more serious. Nonetheless, it's frowned upon big time, especially with your fellow competitors, if you are a quick man who's helped up a mountain by your teammates. We are not pointing the finger at anybody, but it is being talked about, and we thought you better know about it. 28 k's to go, big climb, and then a run in and possibly quick men again. Welcome back. You're looking at the head of the race, but to be honest, these guys in the break, Marcin Mroczek is leading them down at the moment. It's a good breakaway rider. He was in the break on stage 1, you may remember, his rather fetching Tangerine. But at the moment, as you can see, there is a bit of a train being led by Team Sky. Movistar also very much involved, and I've got to tell you, Cofidis, if they have had any criticism over the last couple of days, they've decided that they're going to go into protective mode, look after Nasser Bouhanni. I think everyone's going to be keeping a sharp eye on this next climb, and we're about to get to it. It's probably well worth dissecting it for you. And as I'm just about to hand over to Matt, I can just tee him up by saying there is a very scary section, Matt, where we go over 20% on a number of occasions. 2Ks of it.
We do. We've just gone under 25 kilometres to go. They are actually on the climb because it kicked up at the start, only for about 500 metres or so before dropping down. And then for about a kilometre and a half, things are pretty shallow. You can just see the hill in the background there. Wonderful view, as looks like JJ Lobato in the points jersey there, suffering a little bit of difficulty. He'll want to get back in contention. He can get over these smaller climbs, a real fast finisher, so hopefully he'll be back in the mix as soon as possible. This is just where the road starts to pitch up. But then, with 23 Ks to go on the ticker, that's when the climb really starts to tick up. For about 2 kilometres, we have 2 sections of 20%, and just over the top, 15%. And very much like yesterday, this climb a little bit of a roller coaster. We have a kilometre and a half of descent, then a very small lump, and then things start to pitch up for the last 2.6 kilometres, gradients of 9 and 10%, so very, very difficult indeed. And then as soon as they cross the climb, 15.1 kilometres to go.
Just passing through Restabao, Damiano Caruso and Michael Irizar will mark it as a zone of hurt. They've just been taken as the last men from the breakaway. So altogether with Movies today, so is, well, I would have said JJ Lobato, had he not apparently just punctured, which means that I presume all hands are to the deck to help Valverde potentially get his 3rd victory of this race. He won in 2012, 13 and 14. It really did kind of belong to him before Froome and Contador took control last year. Buani is staying in touch. Of the quick men, Buani is a decent climber. Likewise, Lobato. So I was thinking that it might well be a Lobato kind of day today. And somebody else who's on great form is actually Tinkoff's Oskar Gatto. In fact, we've had a few days where punctures have loomed large. Bernati himself got a puncture on the opening stage, don't forget, which finished quickly. He finished quicker than anybody else, despite that coming very late with about 10 kilometres to go. Not quite sure whether the roads are given to it. It doesn't look like it's particularly flinty round here, but as we say that, we come to an area which looks exactly like that. It's narrow roads, we've got a sinuous ascent, and some of the kickers along the way really, really nasty. Here we go. We're on a pitch right now. It's a bit of a roller coaster, this one, Matt, but there are the main entree where we've got 3 kilometres of proper hurt, haven't we, on the approach to our first of 2 major peaks within this climb.
Exactly. I mean, we're just on the ticker there, 23.2 Ks to go. We've got the climb in front of it. You can just see where the road veers off to the right, where there's that surface change. This is where things start to pitch up a little bit, and it's that man, Vasil Kirienka, on the front, a very distinctive style. You can spot him an absolute mile off, and just to his right is the Flying Dutchman, Wout Poels. So Team Sky in attendance at the front, but also riders from Tinkoff Sack, so they've got some fantastic GC riders. Haven't really talked too much about Roman Kreuziger and Rafa Majka, 2 extremely talented climbers indeed, but this is where the climb pitches up 20% and then flattens out, still 15%. Then that first crest, a couple of kilometres drop before then the rise to the finish. So again, this is the sort of climb, if you are one of the sprinters who isn't a pure climber, you can break the climb down into little bits. It's important to have your teammates around you. It's definitely not game over. There is an opportunity midway through this climb not to panic. Don't go too much into the red. Get your teammates around you, and that's what Nacer Bouhanni is going to need. And I would suggest, after yesterday's suggestions, that there might be a little bit of a spotlight on him on this climb.
I suggest more suggestions. They're coming out of Salares right now. We're on a double kicker out of town, as you can see. So steep to get into it, steep to get out of it, and then all of a sudden you'll see the 20%ers. Look at the way the buildings are built on their attitude to the road. I always like it when we go through towns and you see the steps sort of being eaten in, sunken into the hillside. Well, right now, this is a proper climb. You can see by the pace that everyone is going, they really have knocked back, and I'm not surprised. There's a lot of hurt out there.
There certainly is. 1 or 2 riders going at that, but I don't think that's Bouhanni himself.
No,
that was actually
not.
Jeffrey Soup with that astonishingly, hirsute beard of his. Other riders going out the back include David Arroyo. He's a pretty decent climber. He's now been jettisoned in the break. It's a shame that's got caught, but a real animator. But as I say, it's not unexpected to see the teams of Movistar and Team Sky at the front, just setting that kind of tempo, trying to whittle this field down and get rid of the sprinters.
I think that's absolutely the point, Matt. They want to impose themselves, they want to shake out the fast men and put the hurt on the likes of Buani, who nicked it yesterday, fairly or squarely, or maybe not, depending on who you believe, but it looked like a good win to me. He is our leader, of course, but I don't think he will be by the end of the day. We talked about Kirienka and, of course, the plethora of talent that Team Sky have brought to this race. BMC are a team as well who've come here with a very serious intent in terms of their lineup, but we haven't really seen much of BMC yet. Today is the day where they have to punish everybody who thinks they're going to try and turn this into a race for the quick men. But again, BMC are riding hidden for the time being and letting Movistar do the work, Sky do the work. And indeed, Dimension Data also not too far off the nose today. Maybe Switzer will fancy another cheeky one. We will see. That's some great racing, haven't we, as part of this Ruta del Sol? It's 5 days of fascination, I think. And with a time trial and a proper climbing day to finish off, it's a great prep race at this time of the year. No wonder it brings the big names.
It certainly is. Well, it looks like Kirienka is just swinging off the front there. This is where the gradient pitches up again, 15% near the top. Remember, once they crest this little part, wonderful aerial shot there of the bunch as it slowly starts to fragment. Movistar still setting that tempo. The two riders, Micah and Kreuziger, resplendent in that Fleur eye-popping kit. Quick drink of the bottle there from Wout Poels. He does look pretty comfortable, in fine form at the moment. Having a look round, seeing what teammates he's got. Thought that was going to be a little dig then, but a little bit too early. But remember, they crest it, then there is a descent for about 1.5 Ks, then things start to kick up again. So an opportunity for riders to have a bit of a second win, and it does look like Buani is still sitting pretty.
The motorcycle guys just deciding to get themselves clear. There is Valverde, of course, just looking past the form of Michael Nieve. Nieve still is on the same time as the leader of Team Sky. They've got Kirienka, Poels, Nieve, Moscona and Ben Swift all on the lead time. And if Swifty's up here, he could have an option today.
Is a couple of attacks. It looks like the rider in second definitely recognise him. Wout Poels is equal to the attack of the rider from Movistar, and trying to come across there look like Danny Navarro in the red of Cofidis, the Spanish climber, and the gap is being brought back. Well, one of the riders from Yam Cycling also in the mix there is Rafa Micah of Tinkoff Sack. So just a few tentative attacks on the steeper sections, just trying to test each other out.
Is that the American Kyle Reinen? Bukamolima also very much involved, and this is where Cofidis can start to just make their presence felt. I think they felt a bit bullied after what they regard as unjustified criticism yesterday, and they've decided that frankly this is well, Navarro wants to bury all of that. Frankly, he's gone off. But where is Buani? I should suspect much further down the mountain. Navarro tries to make a break for it then. Don't forget, once we come off the top of this, it's not all over by any means, Matt. There's a long way from home by the time we've dealt with this climb.
No, definitely. Well, this is, as I said, that this climb splits into two. There's another little rise, then it drops again. Then he's got about, well, 2.5 kilometres of 10%. But as you say, there's a drop-off, but not too far. It's essentially a plateau all the way into the finish, and the last 2 or 3 kilometres are absolutely pan flat, but hard to stay away on your own. But a good opportunist move by Navarro at the moment.
It is, because he's got a downhill run of about 1.8 Ks within this climb. Navarro knows that this is a temptation, and he's decided to give in to that. He's gone off. Actually, it's nearly 2 kilometres the descent before we start climbing again. There will be another sub-descent before we get to the very last section, which the bulk, a main central part of it, I should say, peaches out at 10%. So they've done the hardest part of the climb already. If you've managed to get this far, you're probably going to be in decent shape by the end, provided you're within the lead group at the moment. 21.1 Ks remaining, so he's still in fact, he's just crested it now. He's coming on this downhill run. We'll see how technical it is. Apparently, very good surface, and of course, dry. Sun is out, so he's got good vision as well. And away he goes. This could be a good move by him.
It's a very, very good move. There was a bit of a lull initially when he made his attack. He's sitting on the same time as his team leader. He's one of the riders that finished in that front split yesterday. We know he's in good form. He rode extremely well in the Tour of Valencia just a couple of weeks back. Was one of the only riders to be within striking distance of Wout Poels on the climb on the final stage, of the penultimate stage, when there was an extremely steep climb near the finish. But he is a real attacking rider, and he knows these roads very well.
Wow.
And looks to be descending pretty skillfully at the moment, drifting wide.
We said that, very wide, and to be honest, when you get a little bit of wind out here, especially at this time of year when the land starts to dry up, you get some dust as well. You can actually see some of it just accenting the surface, and to be honest, it gets pushed out towards the corners, of which he is testing all of them. Get out of here. This is the camera bike telling the photographers to get out. This is Igor Anton just following on for dimension data. This is brave stuff by them. Svitsu really illuminated the race earlier on, of course, with a great breakaway attempt himself, which sadly for him came to naught. But Anton's capable of doing this sort of thing. He can spin up like a good one, and he's part of this Dimension Data team, which are shining very, very brightly at the top of the season. They've had some great results, of course, Edvald Bosenhagen, Mark Cavendish in Qatar, and why not Igor Anton having a little squirrel off the nose right now. Always love to see this kind of intent. He is also sharing the lead time, and he's got himself a bit of a gap as well. It's opened up an opportunity here. They've got a secondary climb, and then more or less it's the road. We're on a loop out of town as we come back towards Padul. They've got a chance yet again to make up ground. I'm saying those who are in the break and pushing off the front. They've got a chance to actually take this race by the scruff of the neck and maybe just cause a few blushes further back. It's getting very selective. That's a group of what, 35 riders that are on the chase at the moment. Everyone else is further down the mountain.
Yeah, definitely about 35 riders in front. There's a little group of 4 or 5 that just managed to get back in contact, but Navarro looking very good at the moment. You can just see behind, he has a bit of a glance. That's easily 15, maybe 25 seconds that the Spaniard has opened up at the moment, and he looks very, very strong indeed. He's got a little bit, he's not particularly good looking on a bike, but very, very effective indeed. And there's some comms there going on behind. Yeah. Having a look, let's just see if that break, well, that group there looked primarily of, well, it looks like Kirienka now going to the front.
They'd all knocked it back. They'd knocked back, decided not to make the chase, and Kirienka picks it up. Well, nobody willing to take it on, and Kirienka's, it was almost like a gentleman's excuse me. Well, there's not supposed to be race radios here, but clearly they've either got itchy chest parts or they're actually beaming back to base. A lot of conversations going on the radio. This level of racing, not normally expected, but clearly not banned either. There we are. 18.4 kilometres. It's supposed to be an equaliser for the Pro Conti and the Continental teams, who generally don't have access to that much technology, sort of a levelling of the playing field when you deny radios to everybody, but clearly not that denied.
Well, Daniel Navarro looking very good at the moment. Interesting to see what the time check is. It is Team Sky in the form of Vasil Kirienka who've taken up the chase. There you can just see 31 seconds. But again, look at the class of this rider. He's taken a stage at the Vuelta back in 2014. But then significantly, this is a rider with a lot of reserves, a lot of ability. Classification in the Tour de France back in 2013 just shows the level that this rider can ride at. And at the moment, he's taken that opportunity and has opened up quite a decent lead.
Anton's been found out, I'm afraid. The drive that's been put in by Kirienka has just reabsorbed him. So we have a lone rider up the road as we start to kick up again. Now, it's going to start to, they'll feel it because they've done a lot of climbing today. In fact, we've had 3 Category 2s and a Category 3. This is the last climb of the day of any note. It does roll a bit, this kind of terrain, but after a long descent, but they've still got some climbing to do. We're heading up to the peaks here. 10%, the maximum over the next 2.5 kilometres, and then of course they'll feel like all their holidays have come at once, because they'll be able to just relax a little bit, and save for the fact that those who are trying to win it, of course, off this crest and then drive it home. I'm wondering, what Paul's put a lot in early on and then just decided to ease up. I don't know whether he's actually saving himself, but Vasil given the pass on this race. They've got a time trial tomorrow. If Kirienka does, he is a time trial world champion, we remind you, if he monsters that time trial, he might become the protected rider for Team Sky. It depends on how today goes, and tomorrow, of course.
Yeah, I mean, Dario Cioni, the director sportif of Team Sky, has been given a couple of interviews in relation to how the team are going. They're really pleased with Ben Swift's performance, but the team leader, the designated leader for the race, is Wout Poels. I think that's why we're seeing Vasil Kirienka, you know, do these monster turns on the front. He has got such a huge engine. He'll do what he needs to do in the time trial, and he's so strong, you know, although they've got a protected leader in Wout Poels, he probably will end up quite high up the GC just by virtue of how far up the road he is. But again, clearly by the amount of time that he's spending in the wind, Poels is the protected rider. But as you say, you know, this guy's so strong, he could still go and win the time trial tomorrow.
He could, and if he does it by a handsome margin, they've got a conundrum, whether to back Poels or Kirienka.
They've got options, it gives them options, as you say.
Exactly. It's going to be a fascinating one. Abundance of riches in Team Sky, we know all about that. 34 seconds then. He's got a bit of a jump on them. So when will he start heading downhill and maybe thinking about stage glory? In around about 1800 metres time, he's going to have some fun. It just depends on how he's feeling with his time trialling legs, I guess. If Navarro has got what it takes on the time trial tomorrow, he's not overly noted for that, especially in the sort of time trialling company we've got. And Kirienka just maintaining that pace absolutely beautifully. Nice to see Dimension Data as well, very much part of the driving force here. They've been handsome, have they not, from the top of the season, that team?
They certainly have, and they've come into the season with an objective to just animate races and give riders opportunities, and that's what we've seen. I think we'll see a different sort of Mark Cavendish this year, obviously the highest profile signing, but when you look at the quality they've got, Igor Anton came across from Movistar, great climber, he's in the front group. Omar Freire as well, he's there. Well, this is Freire, he's attacking at the moment.
Straight off the bat, Omar Freire. Brian Smith, one of his signings as well. Absolutely delighted to take him. I was privy to a conversation between the pair of them, and Freire, I think Brian had actually wanted him earlier than he actually managed to secure him, and this is the reason why. He's got guts and verve, and he's the sort of rider who can be almost I was going to say almost disrespectful. It's fantastic. He's got a lot of self-belief, let's put it that way, and he's showing that right now. Off the nose he goes, and he's drawing out responses as well, and further down the mountain beyond these guys, others suffering. The one on the left-hand side of your screen is our race leader for the time being, Danny Navarro. But he's got a chaser, it's Freire.
Well, Freire, you think about it, last year he rode for the pro-continental team at Caja Rural, his teammates in the green, won the King of the Mountains in the Vuelta. Yep. Very astute signing. He's going extremely well. It's closing the gap on his countryman Navarro. Great split-screen action there. Freire is actually riding away from the group. Interesting that Movistar aren't assisting with the chase. It's just up to one rider in the form of Vasil Kirienka. An absolutely fascinating pursuit here, but Freire is really eating into the lead of Navarro, and he's got about 1.3 kilometers to the top of the climb now. He
is absolutely burying himself right now. Maybe he knows the terrain of the coming descent. He's probably also thinking about the mountains jersey, quite frankly, because he's got some options on the final day as well. There's been plenty of climbs here today, and Freire has made himself a big presence on this particular day. As we look further down the order, just Luis Angel Mate, by the way, no sign of Nasser Bouhanni's much further back down the order.
Chavanel's there.
Yeah, and Philippe Gilbert likewise. It's interesting to see that I didn't expect these climbs to have put him in the bin, but yesterday they didn't take the stride forward, BMC, that I thought they would. Maybe today's their day, if they can get a select group.
Yeah, it looks like I've definitely seen TJ Van Garderen, Philippe Gilbert is in there, Sam Sanchez, I think I've seen Darwin Atapuma, so they've got some very, very good climbers, forward/puncheurs in that group. But at the moment, although they'd like to do well in the general classification, they're just sitting back, staying out of the wind, and on these kind of rolling sections that are just a little bit faster, although it's on a climb, there's still so much advantage just to rest, stay in the wheels, then they can look at options. They're there in number to start attacking in the finale.
Is doing a great job. He's been within sight. We've had another little kick from Navarro, and the reason is he's just about to crest. It says 15.8, and to my mind he's got about 300 meters maximum before he actually gets over the top and then starts his descent. It's not too technical by the time we get into town either today, Matt. It's not as complex as some of our finishes have been.
No, it's a relatively straight running. Again, not quite as technical as we've seen, especially on the day on the first stage. That was the rather hectic bunch sprint around that nasty roundabout. But we have a rather gentle running with them 3 kilometers out. It's a long straight road, and then with just after the 1 kilometer to go flag, so about 850 meters, there's a sharp left-hander, and then another 200 meters further on, the road swings gently to the right before the finish straight opens out. It's not an overly wide finishing straight, but not super narrow, probably only about 2.5–3 meters wide. But again, nowhere near as technical. But again, the only thing is, because it's quite a long straight, and you've only got a handful of seconds, the bunch are going to be able to see. 15 k's to go, we saw there. He's on the descent.
He is. He's on the descent right now. Tour of Burgos finished second on a stage such as this, did Freire. And of course, Mountains jersey, not only in the Vuelta, secured that this time by, or last time by, I should say, but also in the Basque Country. So he naturally, having come from Caja Rural, a team that always like to punch strongly when it's their local races, and he's doing so again, albeit of course not for a Spanish team, but for Africa's team. And you can see all of a sudden it's drawing out responses from behind, and those who feel that they can impose themselves on a descent, it's now that they're going to have to go for it. And Navarro knows that he needs to get on the escape. He's going to be within view. It's flat and open in this part of the world. We're coming by some olive and almond groves, and the smell quite heady from the blossom at this time of the year. But these guys, not thinking about that, they're driving down to potential glory here.
Well, it is interesting. I mean, Navarro has a gap of around, I think it's only 10 seconds to Freire just behind, then a further 5 seconds back to the bunch. This is essentially a pursuit at the moment. They're dropping for about 1.5 kilometers, but then it starts to level out. And then if the bunch get themselves together, this chasing group of around 40 or so riders, if there's an organised chase, it's going to be easier. Of course, the leaders don't have the advantage of just plummeting down a descent.
Well, gird yourselves, because this is going to be dramatic. There's lots of quick men here. It's going to be fun. Sky chasing on along with Movistar. They're just embedded in behind the Movistar boys. But you look at this group, and it includes some very, very handy sprinters. No Danny Bernardi, who won the opening day. I'm afraid he took himself a puncture earlier on, but Fabio Follini is here. Kai Rynan as well of the United States. So it's going to be some fun for the Trek boys, and they haven't been lent on today, I think it's fair to say. Martin Elmiger as well for I Am Cycling with 10.5 to go. I think that this man out front, Navarro, knows that his time is drawing to a close. Here we're on the approach into town. It's he's within sight of everybody, and as you can see, it's getting a little bit more formal in terms of the roads here. We're out of the countryside, we're into the outskirts, the chase is on. It's going to be the quick men again. My pick's Fabio Follini for Trek Segafredo. What about yourself?
That is a good pick. I'm going to go for Swifty.
Good. I'm glad you did. 10 to go. Pace is up. Sky believe. So do plenty of others. And just look how many BMC boys are here. I don't know. Will Phil Gill have a squirrel off the nose of this one?
Do you know, I mean, Phil Gill, we know that Philippe Gilbert can win from a small group, but there are some very fast riders, and he's already had a win this year, has Philippe Gilbert. But and he's
saying that's enough.
And I don't know, but it's just, you know, having a win is an indicator of form, gives a rider that little bit more confidence. Freire is still desperately trying to shut the gap. You almost think, should Navarro ease up, save himself, wait for him to get on in contact, so there's two of you rather than one. Always difficult to gauge, especially at this end of the race.
Freire's done this before. He's been within sight, looked like he's easing up, and then he just attacks once again. And he's just he's able to plumb depths of form. Now here are your Trek boys. Yeah, Boca's in the frame as well. He's their chosen one for the title here. There is Boca Mollema.
Good to see young Sam Oomen in there, the young Dutchman riding for Team Giant Alpecin. First year pro, only 20 years of age. What a great prospect he is.
Simon Geschke, I don't know whether he's had a shave, but he's in here as well. Maybe he's trying to disguise himself after his tweets yesterday. Look at this absolutely beautiful landscape. You can tell there's been storms in the locale because all the haze has disappeared. It's like having your very own UV filter due to the ions in the sky. 9 kilometers remaining. This is the business end, and they're all in colour order, and I'm afraid these guys surely must be doomed. They can't do this all on their own.
Well, stranger things have happened. They've got just, if you just look at the smoke from that bonfire just wisping over in the distance there, it's giving them, it's helping slightly, so it's a tail crosswind, and that is going to fall in favour of these riders in front. Freire, after a pursuit of a near about 5 or 6 kilometres, agonisingly close for so long, finally makes contact with his countryman. No doubt he'll have a little bit of a rest, 10 seconds in fact, and he's straight to the front, absolutely determined to try and make this work.
It's
wonderful
fantastic.
To see.
Yeah, great. He just noses into the 4. TJ Van Garderen, look how calm he looks. Mouth closed, it's all through the nose at the moment. He looks, of which he is one of the world's finest. And so he is being protected towards the rear. You see Sammy Sanchez also very much involved, and Phil Gill is there, number 82. They've got the firepower, BMC. It's whether they can hit the targets today, and we'll know in 8.3 kilometres time. Coming into town right now, it's a big tee up for Swifty here by Team Sky. He's got a great chance.
He certainly has. 3rd place yesterday, and it's the unmistakable style of Mikel Nieve, the Spaniard, on the front, trying to drive this group along, bring these 2 riders back into the fold. But lots of teams happy at the moment just to sit back. I thought Movistar would have assisted with the chase, but arguably Movistar haven't quite got a sprinter of the prowess of Ben Swift, but Valverde, he can finish so quickly after a hilly stage like this. And again, it'd be wonderful to know who else is in the mix, but again, a few fast riders. Feline definitely a danger.
Gap's been declared now at 17 seconds, we're hearing from race radio. It looks a little bit narrower than that, but the way Feline is up for this, he did re-engage, did he not? And he tried to cheer on, or at least form a brief alliance with Navarro, who's alongside him at the moment. But Navarro looks to be fading as Feline, despite his grimace, still rocking and rolling out front. Arrow Straight Highway is not doing them any favours at all, and it doesn't get too twisty on the lead-in, I'm afraid, on their behalf. It's a pretty straight road with a 90-degree left-hand turn coming at around the 800-metre mark, maybe 750, and then we have a gentle right-hander as well, which opens it up for a 500 metres straight run to the line. Non-technical, wide enough for the sprinters to have their fun, those who've made it over a rough day.
But again, it's the sorts of roads, before we have that left turn, it's a long straight run in 1 or 2 little turns, but most of the time the bunch will have the riders in sight. And it's these little bits of roundabouts that was, again, swinging in the favour of these 2, clearly working very well together. They'll know each other very well. Equal turns on the front, combined with furtive glances over the shoulder. There is the motorbike. What is the gap? This is going to be touch and go. When will we see some other teams come into the mix? Will BMC mix it up with Team Sky and help them a little bit? Who knows?
That's the point. Côte de Court is here, by the way, for Giant Alpecin, and he's a good man to be letting. Yeah, exactly. Very quick indeed. He's one of the faster boys. 6 Ks to go as they come past a beautiful favela. Indeed, it looks like a wine-growing area. We'll have to partake a bit later. 5.9 to go. Just
interesting. Sorry to cut across you there, Carlson. You know, we're at this stage of the race, it's not going to be a bunch kick, but look at the way all the teams are grouping together. All the blue of Movistar, the dark blue of Team Sky at the front, and then nearer the back, all 4 Tinkoff Saxo riders communicating with each other, making sure they're fully conversant and appraised of what the plan is, if there is a plan, what ride they're going to look after. BMC the same. Very interesting to see, but only Team Sky taking up the chase at the moment.
I think that's the point, Matt, is that they at the moment have knocked back ever so slightly, and there's a danger here that once we get into the more shrouded section of the run-in, the boys out front just might have their fun. Machena is where we are right now. Head down, don't look back, see what you can do. They've done a lot already. Navarro and Freire came over that last peak. It was an intermediate one. It's been a bit lumpy on the approach. There's a slight uphill to the finish today. Nothing serious and nothing that would hamper the sprinters that have made it thus far. I think Philippe Gilbert would probably have hoped for an uphill finish. That would have suited him. Today, when he's faced with the likes of Ben Swift from Team Sky, the likes of Fabio Fellini, who you'll see the black and white of Trek Segafredo, the Italian, he can go very quickly. Ben Swift, the Brit, of course, for Team Sky in their familiar dark blue with what looks like the Latvian flag these days. Or is it Estonian? I'm not quite sure.
Estonian.
Thank you. Looks like the national flag of Estonia. Many have said it. Yeah, we dip down and look and try and see what other talent we've got here. There is plenty about, including Cohen de Court, who can go very, very quickly in a reduced group. But I think with Fabio Fellini here, he's got a fantastic chance of taking the day. But first of all, they've got to catch these guys. And look at the pace they're maintaining. It's a slight tailwind on the run in, and it's maybe helping them achieve this kind of speed, 60 kilometers per hour.
They are going extremely quickly, and they said that gentle tailwind will be helping it awful. So it only says 3 Ks to go there. That is interesting. We're a kilometre out on our ticket. I'm not too sure.
Wow.
We'll just have to bear this in mind. But
in
if
that
that
case,
is correct, this is going to be extremely tight. Still only Team Sky at the front, waiting for assistance. This is going to be extremely close. The 2 runs in front refusing to give up.
Well, I'm looking at my map at the moment, and I think I've picked us up, and we are 3K to go, so the ticker looks like it is out. So the man who made the air bridge and planted the sign got it right. And our friend in the graphics box, maybe his thumbs have been strapped back up, I'm not quite sure, but it's not quite right. 3.5 to go then, and that means that the gap is a significant one. These are the little rises that we're talking about. There's another sort of gentle chicane, left and right for them to take, which will bring them past the 2K to go banner. We wait with bated breath to see that banner itself. They're still sticking with the 3.2 to go graphically, but if you see a 2 coming up any moment now, and it'll be the Flamme Rouge before you know it as well. These little ramps are helping these guys because we know they've got some climbing legs about them. They're using them now.
They certainly have. But when you look at Omar Freire, he doesn't only climb. He won a stage of the 4 days of Dunkirk. We know what it's like. They're open and windy. This is a left-hand turn. Absolutely crucial that the bunch get this right. The gap has closed, but have they got enough left? Ooh.
Oh, lots of bunny hopping going on an unguarded piece of elevated highway. I don't think they've got enough. I think they are going to get caught here, as you can see. Well, they are a little bit closer to the line than perhaps we had at first thought. That's the 2K to go marker, I believe. So they've stripped out the graphic for you. We'll see the Flamme Rouge immediately after it. When you come to the Cala Madrid, they will suddenly take a left-hand 90-degree. It's the most focused corner that they've got to deal with on the run-in. Our destination is embedded here in Padul. And right now, there's a lot of options for a lot of teams, as I'm afraid it's going to be heartbreak for our breakaway riders right now.
It won't be long. Just as they go, swing gently to the right, they will see the Flamme Rouge just in front, as tantalizingly close. I count that with my monkey counting at about 3 or 4 seconds only. But as the road drags up, this is going to be stinging the legs of our 2 leaders. And now, just behind in that canary fluoro yellow, it's Tinkoff Saxo taking up the chase.
It is. I think it's Gatto for them. If he's made it over, he's been climbing well, he's been on super form. Why not? He had a puncture on stage 2, and I think Gatto's trying to make up for ground today. So watch out for the fluoro yellow, and you might well see the Italian flying. Here we go. There's the Flamme Rouge, almost innocuous. So we're already underneath the K to go. They've left it very, very late. It's all going to be about this next turn. Best place to be is over on the right-hand side of the road, and suddenly they start to drift there to open up the corner for themselves. Sky have already started to come up. They're bringing Swifty up to this point. No doubt why. He's only got 750 meters to go. They take the big right-hander, left-hander, I beg your pardon. There's a right-hander to come up to the Andalusia Avenue, and then it will be outright straight to the line. Here comes the right-hander now, and then they will get a sight of the line that they've got to race for. Time to open the taps. Here we are. Head-up view. It's Gatto being led out at the moment. It's Jay McCarthy and Trusov who have been working so hard for Gatto. Gatto surely is the best man out there, at least on the nose. No, Kirienka's also in the front. Frisky's in there as well, and here comes Philippe Gilbert. He's over to the corner. Valverde's also involved. Oh, and this is Ray Craner, I believe, from Rompot, who's also also in there, but not to be denied for us. And he said, thank you very much. Missed out with a puncture yesterday. Not going to miss out again. Very well won for Tinkoff. What about that?
Well, Ben Swift of Team Sky went quite early, but Oskar Gatto on that very gentle rise up to the line had a lot of power, and with about 10 or 15 metres to go, he did make it look easy. Well, Tinkoff Saxo used the other team to their advantage. Within the last 1,500 metres, they took it up, brought back the two leaders, set up Gatto perfectly, and what an absolutely superb, powerfully timed sprint by the Italian from Tinkoff.
Gatto, he has his cake, and he's eating it.
Do you know what? For a second, you lost me on that, but I've got to applaud you on your ability to sort of, quality bit of punnage.
Terrific stuff. Yesterday, he was denied by a puncture. Today, he made it count, and in emphatic style, in some very, very good sprinting company as well. You know, it's your ability to pick yourself up out of disappointment, and that's exactly what he's done.
Yeah, I mean, a perfect win. I mean, he was worked selflessly for Benati the other day, bagged himself a 4th place, 2nd stage win for Tinkoff. Look at all his teammates, Rafa, Micah, Kreuziger, all punch in the air. But Ben Swift, unlucky, 3rd yesterday, 2nd today. Clearly Swifty is in good form, but had no answer to the power of Oskar Gatto. 5 metres to go, he had it in the bag, won it by just over a length. Nothing you can say about that. Timing, speed, skill, strength. Job done.
Smile.
Cake.
Gatto. Yeah, terrific effort today. And what a great day it turned out to be. The Humedal de Padul. This is the lake. A lot of mosquitoes around here. Disturbed nights, I think. Enjoyed today. We've got more to come tomorrow. The Al Harun de la Torre. Yeah, its individual time trial is to come up. So we're looking forward to that. We're going to take ourselves a brief break, and we're going to be back with our final declared results. Here we are. Gatto, Ben Swift, Ray Crader, as we mentioned, for Rompot, doing a fantastic job. In fact, edging Tim Wellens. And my choice for the day, Fabio Fellini, coming in 5th place. You picked Ben Swift. We both missed out on Gatto, but we saw him at the end, and then, of course, we reminded ourselves that yesterday's puncture had to be made amends for, and he did in the best of ways by winning the following day. He's our stage winner. Ben Swift, though, now leads the overall standings. Ray Crader is in 2nd place. So Ben, after all our speculation as to who would be the protected rider, I'm not sure he's got the time trialing credentials of some of his teammates, but that is a fantastic thing. Ben Swift will go into the red leader's jersey tomorrow, courtesy of his finishing position today. And let's face it, he's had some very good finishes. He was 3rd yesterday, we remind you. So, super job, great day, time trialing tomorrow. This race has got it all. Well, we'll take ourselves a short break, and then I think we may well have a chat with our day's winner, which will be nice. Back in a moment.